Maybe she's like,
This
why did they move? What are they doing?
is my intro. You're ruining it.
Oh, okay.
That was the new intro that we're doing. So day 204. I'm Andy. This
Hi,
is
Andy.
Imogen. And this is the Inner Winner Show.
It
We're
is?
mixing it up now. We're doing a different intro. Because cool guys always change their intros every single time. You really shouldn't have any consistency with your podcast. Any kind of content creation, if I can get one thing across to you guys, it's don't be consistent ever.
Yeah.
Which actually reminds me of a joke. It's not a joke, but this person was a joke. The person who said it was a joke, and he probably goes home and cries himself to sleep every day. That's a little harsh, but this guy was a joke. So let me explain.
Not very nice.
I applied for a job in a supermarket. You know which supermarket I'm talking about. Aldi. 4 letters. A-L-D-I. You know what else has 4 letters? Hell. H-E-L-L. So that's not a coincidence.
I know what story
You know
you're
where I'm
telling.
going with this.
Yeah, I
So this
do.
guy, we're going through the whole like induction process, the whole interview process, right? It's this big fucking massive process. And I'm like, bro, this is just like a supermarket job so I can pay the bills on the side, right? This was when I was like starting with my website, right? So this was the job I was going to get as my part-time gig or full-time gig, but you know, expanding my coaching.
Mm-hmm.
So we go through this huge, massive process where you have to answer like fucking 50 million questions and you get quizzed and like, it's just like so intense.
Yeah,
And then
I would like to point out that like I was waiting. I was just like in a cafe, like doing work on my laptop.
I was in there for
waiting
like 3 hours or
you
some
were there
shit.
for ages.
Like for a fucking supermarket gig, guys.
Yeah.
A supermarket job. Literally a shit kicker, low level, entry level. Like I've worked supermarket jobs before. And it's like you just rock up and say like, yo, I promise I won't steal anything. And they're like, you got the job, boy. You don't even have to do anything. You just got the job. So this guy, like towards the end of the interview, I say, what are the hours going to be? Because you haven't told us anything about the hours, right? And he's like, well, the hours change week to week. And I was like, what the fuck do you mean? And he's like, and the days also change week to week. And I was like, explain, like, are you on crack or what? And he's like, I am on crack, sir. I've had a lot of crack. And through the process of inhaling or snorting or injecting, I actually don't know how you take crack. I think you sniff it. Through sniffing crack,
But it's not like
eating crack,
little
through
rocks.
eating crack is not a rock. Someone's going to correct me. Any crack fiends out there, any crackheads listening to this, correct us.
okay.
Massively off tangent here. We haven't even talked about the topic. That doesn't matter. So
Please
any
smoke
crackheads,
it.
let us know. This guy who was smoking, eating, licking, or tasting crack said,
Mm-hmm.
I came up with the genius idea. He was like the area manager or whatever. He's like, I came up with the genius idea that every store in my area every staff member has to work different hours and different days week to week. So you don't have any sort of schedule.
Mm-hmm.
1 week you may be getting up at 5 a.m. The next week you may be working until 11 p.m. when the store closes. You may even have to stay back a little later and do some like filling, restocking, whatever you want to call it. And I looked at him like, okay, this guy's like he's having a laugh, right? And I was like, but like, how do you have a schedule? How do you like, and he's like, literally says, like some sort of dipshit bodybuilder, he goes, you got to confuse the body. And I was like, bro, I don't want my body to be confused. I think my body would like a little consistently. Can I just like give some consistency to my body? And he's like, no, you got to confuse the body. You got to keep the body guessing. And I was like, guess it? Why? This isn't a quiz, bro. This isn't like an interrogation. That sounds like an interrogation. That sounds like something that I would expect in the Communist Manifesto. I would expect that in Torture Techniques 101.
Mm-hmm.
I'd expect that from the fucking Guantanamo Bay wardens.
Mm-hmm.
You got to keep them guessing. You got to keep the body confused.
Yep.
That sounds like torture to me. So what are we going to talk about today? Speaking of torture, there's a guy on my forums called Radical.
The biggest tangent. Well,
It's
how
not
is
a
that related
tangent,
to anything?
because I'm bringing it back in. I'm bringing
Okay.
it back in now.
I trust that you
We're
will.
talking about torture.
Mm-hmm.
There's a guy on my forums called Radical,
Mm-hmm.
and he asked me this question.
Mm-hmm.
I'd like to hear your thoughts on sexual compatibility.
Mm-hmm.
How do you test for it? And do girls ever make it past your BDSM screening, but they still aren't that compatible in bed when you have sex with them?
Mm.
That was a good tent. That was a good... This plane overhead is probably going to ruin this. We're recording this in a park, by the way, so if this is noisy...
You got the sounds of nature
Fuck
there.
you.
Screaming birds.
Yeah. Old women. Look at that old man, that old woman and that old man.
We had to move where we were sitting because
Because we're sitting next to this old couple.
Yeah,
They're probably going to get real moist and hard if they hear us talking about sexual compatibility. We'll probably get locked up, actually. I wonder if it's there's like children over there, too. We probably shouldn't be talking about this shit.
They're a long way away.
Kids need to know about BDSM at some point.
No.
I'm on a list now. So I'd like to hear your thoughts on sexual compatibility. It's very important. There you go. That's my thoughts on that. How do you test for it? So if anyone isn't familiar, you on your Tinder, you Imogen,
Mm-hmm.
my girlfriend,
Yes.
my bitch,
Mm-hmm.
my homie,
Sure.
my slut.
Mm-hmm.
Why are you looking at me like that? You on your Tinder screen very hard. You
Yep.
filter in the girls who are sexually compatible, who are looking for BDSM. You have BDSM pictures
Mhm.
of yourself holding handcuffs.
Mhm.
You have a picture of you like in lingerie, and your bio says, "I'm bisexual," or I'm in an open relationship and I'm bisexual. We're both very into BDSM and we're both very good at teaching.
Mhm.
So you're very clearly bringing in girls who A, are okay with who want like to fuck a couple in threesomes.
Yeah.
B, are into BDSM. C, this is more subtle, but are sexually open and willing to explore. And there's no D. We give them the D later. And so me on my Tinder,
Mm-hmm.
I have pretty much the same shit. You know, in an open relationship, she's bisexual and into BDSM, and we're both very good at teaching. So any girls that we do match with are very much into the stuff that we're into. They've either tried BDSM or they've never tried it. Most of the girls we meet have never tried it, but they really want to.
Mm-hmm.
They want to be taught by a couple, by a more experienced couple. So before we even get a phone number, a girl is already sexually compatible with us. We've already done the hard work. We already know that she's into us and that she wants sex, she wants BDSM. We already know that our kinks are going to line up, right? Because that's what his question here is saying. How do you make sure by the time you get into the bedroom, you actually have a good time with the girl? That's how I've figured out that you can cheat. You literally just ask about, BDSM is a great way to do it. You can ask about other sexual stuff if you want to. BDSM is just the easiest way because it's nice and mainstream. It's not dirty.
Yeah.
It's not like you talking about fetishes and kinks. Girls react a lot better to it. You can still talk about fetishes and kinks before you meet if you want to. Of course you can. It's just BDSM is an easier, more mainstream, polite way of doing it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think with the whole 50 Shades of Grey thing, everyone's just oh, it's this fun little handcuffs and spanking. Yeah. It's very accessible.
Accessible is
there
the
probably
perfect word.
Was a time where it wasn't, but I'm not aware of said time. So
yeah. So that's how we screen for it, how we test it. You can do the same. I have plenty of my coaching clients. Shout outs to my coaching, by the way. If you want coaching, hit me up. killyourinnerloser.com/coaching. I'll fucking fix your life or some shit.
Yeah.
I'll kick you in the balls if you're not successful. That's what mostly my coaching is, kicking you in the balls and saying, come on, get your shit together. It's more than that. Anyway, a lot of my coaching clients, through coaching with me, start doing BDSM, and I teach them how to take some pictures for their, Tinder or whatever, how to screen for it in the bedroom, how to screen for it outside of the bedroom, what to say on a date, stuff like that. So the point is, there's probably I'd say 20 guys at this point. There's probably more than that, but 20 off the top of my head.
Oh, really? That many?
Yeah, at this point. Not all of them my coaching clients, but 20 guys that I know that either through my forums or through, they email me and they say, hey, I started doing this. You've seen some of the emails.
Yeah,
where
I have.
Yeah, they're hey, I've started doing this. And it's damn, that's really cool. So plenty of guys do that. You're welcome to do that. I'm happy to help with that. Hit me up for coaching. Otherwise, just go on my blog, and I've got an article called my BDSM Tinder profile. Just basically copy what I do, right? Take some BDSM pictures, just start screening for that. You don't even have to be good at BDSM. I've talked a million times. When I first started, all I knew was 50 Shades of Grey. I hadn't even seen the movie, right? I just knew that it was a concept, and I was I guess I'll figure this out. I didn't have any toys. I just kind of tried blindfolding girls with a silk necktie from my suit, and I went from there. So the next question, he says, this is Radical, by the way. Moderator on my forum, shout outs to Radical. I'd say that the changes that he's brought to my forums have been very radical.
It doesn't really work if you're the one laughing at it.
Yeah, it's a funny joke. I'm always going to laugh at my own joke. So
I love you.
He goes on to say, I read this out before, but whatever. Do girls ever make it past the BDSM screening, but still aren't that compatible in bed? Yeah. Let's go through a few stories like that, because we've had quite a few like that. Now, it happens less now. It's only happened once in recent history out of the last 15 girls. Yeah.
To be fair, at the start when we didn't really know what we were doing or looking for and just kind of fucking around a bit.
It happened all the time.
Yeah.
Because we weren't screening for BDSM.
I think we were, but
We didn't know what the fuck we were doing.
nope.
Just drop everything.
Yeah.
We didn't know what the hell we were doing back then, to be honest. We didn't know how to screen for BDSM. So I guess it's a good point that you bring up. Like, just being more direct with your BDSM, because we weren't. We were really half-assed about it before.
Yeah, it wasn't super clear about us being a couple. We didn't mention anything about teaching. I think that has been a very big change, the teaching thing.
Because that's what... Okay, it's not just the teaching thing. It's that's the dynamic we like the best.
Mm-hmm.
So this is more like an example of good screening.
Yeah.
So you don't have to teach girls BDSM, although I would say that's like the easiest way of doing it. But whatever kind of dynamic you like, screen for that. We like dynamics with an inexperienced girl who wants us to teach them. So that's what we screen for now.
Mm-hmm.
And how do we do that? By putting literally in the bio, we're both good at BDSM and we're very good at teaching. You will literally get inexperienced girls who are like, hey, I saw that you said you want to teach.
Yeah. And I think when people talk about sexual compatibility, like, obviously that's what we want. I think there is this notion of, like, what if they're just bad in bed? Like, and that, like, it just sucks. But I guess in our situation, like, if they don't know what they're doing, which they don't for a lot of the stuff, particularly with a girl, we can teach them that. So that aspect of compatibility never comes up as an issue for us. I could actually see...
It's not just us, but yeah, you keep going.
I was
going
going
back to that point.
I could actually see a world in which, like, not doing the BDSM thing, it's almost harder to, you know, start talking about, like, sex and, like...
It's not really, because remember that I used to bring up sex all the time on dates before BDSM. You just start talking about it. You're just like, so, you can be clumsy. You just be like, so, do you own any vibrators? That was, like, usually my fucking go-to line. Or I'd be like, do you have any bad sex stories? That usually helps. Do you have any good sex stories? Do you have any bad sex stories? Have you ever had a guy, like, couldn't get it up in the bedroom? I've asked that. That's a really good question to ask, because pretty much every girl, and this should make you guys feel better if you have erectile dysfunction, which I have had plenty of times. Pretty much every single girl was like, yeah. Like, so it's really common. Or another question you ask is, like, you know, is there any, like, sex fantasies or something you've always wanted to explore, but you're, like, worried that if you say it to someone, they'll think you're a freak? Like, that's a really good way to just, like, break the ice. Any of these you can say, like, just in the middle of a date. Just say it. It doesn't matter. It doesn't have to be, like, amazing. You can be nervous. I was always awkward about it until I got more comfortable.
Yeah, I think just asking a lot of questions generally.
Yeah.
Fix that. I think in a lot of cases too, I know it's different because we're obviously screening for submissive girls, but if there is something you'd like them to do more of, which they're not, like being more vocal or anything like that, you can kind of just bring it up. Encourage
them as well. Encouragement. You don't have to say, like, I wish you were more vocal, although you can say it like that. But just say, like, when you're in the middle of sex, just say, like, be more vocal. It turns me on like crazy. Moan for me.
Yeah.
Tell me how good it feels. This feels good, doesn't it? And then she might nod her head and you say it. I want to hear you say it. How many times have I said that to a girl?
Yeah.
I'll say, like, say it. I
you
want to
like
hear
doing it to just embarrass people, though.
It's not embarrassing. That's a different topic entirely. That's before sex. I like making people embarrassed outside. I never make anyone embarrassed in the bedroom.
Not during sex.
During the bedroom, I'm very fucking careful. Like, this is the judgment-free zone. Like, nothing you say, I will never laugh at you. I'll never make a joke I might make, like, I'll make you smile. Yeah, I'll make you smile, but I'm not going to, like, have fun at your expense ever. Outside of the bedroom, anything goes. I'm very, like, very careful how I am in the bedroom. But before, when you said, you know, we can just teach girls if they don't know something or they're not good at sex, or if there's, like, sexual incompatibility, or if she's inexperienced, or there's not that chemistry. That's not just us. Like, all of you guys can be doing that. Like, you know, this question, you're worried about being incompatible in bed. I don't think it's a lot of people see sexual compatibility as this, like, ephemeral thing. It's just like, it's like love. It's like magic. And love isn't the same either. We'll have a whole conversation about that either, but at some other point. But a lot of people say, like, love is just this magical thing. Like, who knows how it works? Like, sometimes you're in love and you can't really change it. And if you fall out of love, it's like, it's just unlucky. And, like, that's not what love is, you fucking, like, unautistic retard. You got to get a little bit more autism in there and figure out what love actually is. Like, break it down, figure out what love is all about. We'll do a podcast on that at some point.
Yeah.
Sexual compatibility is the same thing. It's not this magical, like, oh, we just really clicked. It feels like that when you don't have experience, but once you know what you're doing, once you've slept with, I don't know, like 50 women, some arbitrary number, right? Once you've slept with enough women, you realize like, oh, I can generate sexual compatibility. I can tell, like you said, I can tell her what I want. I can encourage her to do what I want. I can get her to write a sexual bucket list and tell me all of her fantasies, and then both of us get really turned on exploring the ones where we both want to try. I can make her be more dirty. I can teach her. You don't have to be some like amazing mentor, but just like saying like, oh, hey, let's get decent at this together. Like sexual compatibility is something that improves. Even Chris from Good Looking Loser talked about this. He said the first couple of times you have sex with a girl is not going to be the best sex. It's not. Even the girls that we sleep with, even when we know what we're doing, I would say it gets better after the first time with pretty much every girl. There may be one or two exceptions.
Yeah,
pretty much every girl, it's better the longer it goes on. You and I like our sex a million times better than the first time we had sex. And the first time we had sex was fucking amazing.
Yeah.
I know you remember. It was so fucking over the top crazy.
I do.
You were the person that I was like, won't go into too much detail, but like, holy shit, you were definitely, that was the most rough sex of my entire life. That was definitely the filthiest sex of my entire life was the first time I met you. So good job, you. But yeah, you can encourage. What are you going to say?
Yeah, and I think like the point is that I guess there's like levels to it if you want to break it down in that way, but the very first stage of screening is like what we do on Tinder, and I think that kind of screens out the people that have core compatibility issues, whether that's open-mindedness or...
So if they're not open-minded, they won't even match with us, which is good for us.
Or just being okay with what we're into. And so once you've gotten rid of all of those people, you know, the last few things we just mentioned, like in terms of experience and like being good at certain acts or whatever it might be, that can all be encouraged because...
Yeah, you can just teach them those last bits. As long as there's a core compatibility there, you have enough to work with. Remember that you're not aiming for 100% compatibility with the girls. We don't. Do we have 100% compatibility with most of the girls? Fuck no.
Of course not.
Of course not. Yeah, that would be like... it happens every now and then. I can think of some girls. It worked pretty well with, you know, the Asian girl that we're like seeing right now. Yeah. Worked pretty well with her. Maybe the tall chick who doesn't know how to send you nude pictures. You know what I mean?
Yes, I do.
Works pretty well with her. I'd say the other one...
we'll see. We'll see where that goes.
Yeah, and that's the point. Like, I'd say 75% of the girls that we see, there's not crazy sexual... There's a baseline of compatibility. Of
course.
And then we kind of like help them grow into what we want them to be. And so that's what we're getting at here. Don't worry about if you're not into BDSM. Don't worry about if you're not super sexually experienced. Don't worry about any of that. That isn't a barrier to entry. The main thing you guys need to take away from this is if you don't feel super compatible with a girl, or you feel a little bit compatible. I know I'm watching the guy throw fists in the air. Stop getting distracted and focus on me.
He's doing really bad, like,
I don't know
tricep dips.
Yeah, I know.
The like half dips, and then like...
There's some, for you guys listening, there's some guy in the park who's doing like, I don't know, like shadow boxing where you like pretend to punch in the air, but he's
on
like,
a bench, he's sitting down and doing it.
He's like sitting
Which
down.
I mean is like upper body, but like he's doing really bad.
I think he's just
tricep
fighting the
dips.
demons in his head.
Maybe he's wearing his
We should
shirt.
go and ask him about crack. Like, hey sir, do you know if you snort? And he'd be like, bro, I know every way to take crack. So anyway, what was I saying? You distracted the shit out of me.
Oh, sorry.
If you're not into BDSM, don't stress. The main point that we're getting at here is encourage sexual compatibility. As long as there's a baseline level of compatibility, right? Like, if you like open-minded girls, make sure you screen for that. And there's a million ways to screen for that. Just ask questions that will filter out girls who aren't open-minded. Or ask questions like, you know, do you like exploring new things? Or I'm looking for a girl that like wants to try a bunch of like fun stuff in the bedroom. Like, do you have any like interesting stuff that you're open to try?
Yeah.
Or are you interested in like writing a bucket list or something and exploring some shit on there? If a girl's just like, maybe, then there you go, that's your answer. Like, that's a no.
Yeah.
There's a good article by Mark Manson, and it's called Fuck Yes or No. And he basically says, if you don't get a fuck yes, then it's a no. So if it's like a yeah, then that's a no. If it's like, I mean, I'm open to it, that's a no.
I think particularly coming from women that want to be agreeable, at least the girls that we want to see generally all want to be agreeable.
Yeah, girls are more likely to just say like, yeah, when they really mean no.
Yeah, they want you to say, you don't have to if you don't want to.
Yeah.
That's exactly what they want you to say.
Yeah, so they're giving like a half-assed answer instead of just, you know, doing what men will usually do and say like, no. Like, you're not likely to get a no. So if it's not a fuck yes, it's a no. But you also shouldn't be going for any like. And now we can get into a discussion of like when you're a newbie, like if you don't have much sexual experience at all, you are going to have to put up with a few girls who aren't like an insane yes. So there's like levels to this.
Of course.
It's not one extreme or the other. So don't take this as me saying like, if a girl doesn't say fuck yes, then, you know, she can get fucked. Some girls will be a little more shy, but I think you guys understand the general principle of what I'm saying here. You screen in girls who are like enthusiastic. That's a better way of saying it. If they're just enthusiastic to see you, again, when you're at the start, maybe you have to go on some dates and have sex with some girls who are less enthusiastic.
Yeah.
Especially if you haven't worked on your self-improvement, so you're not like hot yet. Girls are just going to be a little more reserved and less enthusiastic because you don't look as sexy. So, you know, take it with a grain of salt. Realize there's nuances to a lot of what I say. Don't take it, you know, as the gospel truth, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, so screening in girls that give you what you want or that are compatible with you, that fixes 99% of this. And then you just kind of teach each other and explore and get better and practice. Remember, this is practice. You know, like good-looking loser said, you're not going to be the best. It's not going to be the best sex the first time. So practice. Like practice with each girl. And just because you know what you're doing, she's going to be reserved and shy and like she may not be fully opening up to you the first couple of times. She has to learn to trust you. She has to learn that you won't judge her. She has to learn like what your likes and dislikes are. She's going to be nervous to do something wrong or not to do something wrong. Right? She's not just going to be like a depraved, filthy, kinky whore the first time. Because what if you don't like that? What if she does something wrong?
Yeah.
So most girls hold back a bit.
Of course.
And after you've had sex like 2, maybe 3 times, depends. After you've had sex a couple of times, then the really good sex starts happening.
Yeah. And I guess to answer the second part of Radical's question, in regards to like, have we had instances where we didn't like, you know, like we met them, we may or may not have had sex and then didn't like them. And like, yes, there have been instances. I think quite often it just comes up. Okay, there's 2 ways that I can think of that it's come up. One is personality. It's like you have sex, you don't really talk much, and then afterwards you're like, ugh.
Yep. And so to filter that out, just have like 30 minutes to an hour date first.
Yeah, to be fair, that's all we've started doing maybe the last...
And we have long dates now.
Quite a few times.
We have like 2-hour dates sometimes.
Yeah, we just like go sit in a bar and chat.
For a while. Yeah.
That's made a big difference.
Absolutely, because you figure out like, it gives you a chance to like the girl because you get to know her more. And you really like, you connect and you actually go like, okay, I like this chick.
Yeah. So yeah, since we started doing that, we haven't had issues with personality.
Yeah, fuck no.
Because yeah, the times where that did happen in the past, if we did go on a date with them for 2 hours or an hour, even just spoke to them like maybe half an hour longer.
Yeah, because so for context, those were girls. The ones you're talking about in the past was where we'd like meet them, like at the train station and walk them like 2 minutes back to my apartment and have sex immediately. So it's like you literally don't know anything about this person. And then after sex, they'd tell us a bunch of shit that we're like, oh, fuck, that's a deal breaker.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not okay with that. I don't like that part of your personality. Like, I really don't like the way you talk. Like, there'll be some big thing that's just like, I'm not into this person. But like, I've already had sex at this point.
Yeah.
So that's a great way. Yeah, compatibility in bed. Remember that it's not all in the bedroom.
Yeah.
A little bit of compatibility is outside the bedroom. Just liking them, listening to them, hearing their story, kind of connecting. You don't have to have a long date, but like even just a fucking hour.
Yeah. And then I guess the other one where it has come up, where there have been issues in the past, is just like general attraction. So it's not a personality thing. But like people look different than they do in their photos.
Yeah, and again, this was back in the day when we weren't like going on a long enough date. So you'd look on their photos, they look good. In person, you're just like, and then because we weren't going on a date and giving ourselves that chance to say no. Yeah. This happened to me a lot too, like before I was seeing you. And because I was so focused on like just getting the next notch, because I was working on my, getting more experience and stuff, I slept with plenty of girls that I wasn't that attracted to. And so there's going to be less sexual chemistry there. There's going to be less compatibility. So attraction is a huge part of compatibility, of course. Personality, attractiveness, and then just you screening for the personality traits you like them being open or them giving you the sexual dynamic that you think you enjoy. Like if you enjoy very dominant women, then screen for that.
Yeah.
Or encourage that. I've talked before about how to find dominant women. A lot of it is you have to literally encourage her. Like you can be very dominant with me. like very dominant, but I have to literally like encourage you
Yeah.
and say like, do this. It really turns me on when you do this. Fuck me like this. I want you to do this. I want you to ride me and take control. Like I have to literally tell you, and then you get into it and you're really good at it. So yeah, screening for what you want. Let's answer the final part of his thing, unless you have any more to add on that.
No.
He says, in a threesome dynamic, because you and I have threesomes with the girls that we see.
Yep.
Does this become an issue as well? Have there been instances where one of you, either you or Emmy, enjoyed it more than the other did, who maybe didn't feel the click or feel a click with that girl? Yeah, in recent history, there was one girl. And now, to be fair, that's something that I don't really think will happen again. Because we had a special... So we went on a date with this girl, and I was really into her. And you weren't that attracted to her.
Yeah.
You said she had a really cute body. She had like a fucking perfect body. But like, you weren't attracted to her face. Like she just wasn't... You didn't think she was that attractive. I didn't mind as much. I will agree her face wasn't like stunning. But her body more than made up for it for me. I was like, that's like a perfect body to me. Like, I don't care, you know. And so one of the things we do on a date is we kind of have like a code where we say like, you know, we have different ways of doing it, but basically like I'll say like, do you like her? And you'll say like, do I like her? And we have like a secret code that we'll do, right? That she has no idea. And if we both say yes, then we go. She went to the bathroom, and so that gave us enough time to talk. And I was like, it's a yes from me. What about you? And you were like, and you were kind of umming and ahhing, right?
Yeah.
And I said, just say no. If it's a no, say no, but I'm really into her. Like, let me know. And we kind of went back and forth for a little bit. And then you said, like, I think I could be attracted to her, so I think maybe we say yes. And then I said, okay, if this goes badly, we're going to use it as a learning experience. So we took it back, we had sex, and then afterwards you were just like, I'm really sorry, I don't think I'm attracted. And I was like, God damn it. I was like even more attracted to her after we had sex and I saw her naked and, you know, she was a super sweetheart and stuff like that. But you were just like, no, like, I'm sorry, the face is like a deal breaker. You said it nicer than that because you're a woman. You're not going to be like, the face is a deal breaker for me, bro. She's fugly. You said it really nicely. And you were kind of like even crying because you're like, I feel like such a bad person saying this about another girl. Anyway. So we sent her a message and we said like, hey, like real sorry, but like, we're just not feeling the chemistry, like blah, 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 right? And that was the last time that's happened. And maybe that'll happen one more time in the future, like accidentally. But I think for the most part, that's not going to happen again. Because now we know, like, okay, we have to be super firm. We really have to make sure we're both attracted to the chick before we take her back.
Yeah.
And so, yes, to answer the question, that has happened. That also happened a lot at the start. There was like one or two girls that that we slept with that you were really into. And I was like, I'm sorry, I'm just not. Like,
Yeah.
I'm just either not that into her body or I don't like her. One of them, it was her personality. And so, yeah, that's happened in the past. That happens less now. I suspect we'll get to a point, maybe we're already there, where it just won't really happen ever again. Because we're like we just have like a long date with a girl.
Yeah.
There'll probably be a point, I've talked to you about this, where, I mean, we kind of did it with that shy virgin chick recently. We'll probably get to a point where even when we take them back on the first date, we won't have sex. Like, we'll deliberately slow it down to really make sure. Because you can kind of get a lot out of... So here you go. Here's another great piece of advice I can give you guys. With sexual compatibility, you can slow it down a bit. Like, still make moves. I always recommend you make a move and show her that you want her and all that. But you can take her back and just fool around and, like, do everything except sex.
Yeah.
And like really slow it down. So either you don't have sex the first time, and if she asks anything, just be like, I really want to wait. It's so much hotter if we wait. Like, make it a good thing. Make her feel wanted. Don't be like, oh, I'm just, I'm taking it slow. Just be like, I fucking want to drive you crazy and I want you to drive me crazy. And like, it's so hot if we wait. Like, that'll just turn me on like crazy and it will turn you on. She'll be like, oh, wow, this is fun. Like, make it like that.
Yeah. Or
just go really slow, tons of foreplay, and then that will give you a chance to see if you're sexually compatible. Like really a lot of foreplay, like 2 hours worth of foreplay. Like, really fucking slow it down. Don't stick your dick in her no matter how hard you are. Finger her, fool around, make out, get her to play with your cock, like whatever you're doing. And that will give you more than enough time to see, like, oh, there's compatibility here. Like, we really do click. Okay, I'm going to fuck her. Like, just slowing it down. And remember, if you get to a point and you feel like I'm not feeling the chemistry, then just, play with her for a little bit and then just say like, hey, like, it's getting late. I'll walk you back. This was a hell of a lot of fun. Don't make her feel like unwanted or anything. What I just said is perfectly fine. and then just walk her back and say, hey, I had fun, but like, I'm not super feeling the chemistry, but like this was a lot of fun. I'm really glad I met you. You're not obligated to have sex with a girl just because she's in your bed. So as soon as you feel like there isn't that compatibility, you don't have to bang. Yeah. Also balance that with what I said before, which is there may not be that much compatibility the first few times. Or there may be less.
Yeah, sure.
You still want some baseline. I'm talking specifically if you feel like there's no chemistry and you're just like, I can't, I'm not into her at all, then you don't have to have sex.
Like we said, like I guess like the first level is like on a core level, do you have compatibility? And then like other things.
Like a baseline level.
Yeah. And beyond that, like other things that can be improved, of course, that was probably going to be the case for everybody.
Yeah.
But that's what you work on.
Yeah.
It's like, do they tick all the important boxes? Like the deal breakers.
Is there something to work with here?
Yeah.
Like, could this grow into a super compatible, fuck buddy or friends with benefits or girlfriend or whatever? Like, could we develop this? Because again, I really want to drill home that like most of the girls we see, like the sex the first time is great, but it's nowhere near what it is after like 5 times. Especially once we teach them some stuff, once we encourage them. Again, even if you're not doing BDSM and stuff, you will just naturally encourage girls to come out of their shell, or they naturally will as they get more confident with you. And the sex will just become kinkier and dirtier and wilder and more passionate as you start to know each other. That just happens even without BDSM and toys and stuff like that.
Yeah.
It just becomes more, like how many times, even stuff like having an orgasm. Girls will find it infinitely more hard to orgasm with you the first, like, 1 or 2 times they see you. Because a big part of orgasm is relaxing. And so even just something like a girl being able to orgasm more easily, that massively increases your compatibility. You're like, holy shit, she's so hot when she orgasms. Like, this is hot as fuck. I love watching her come. That's less likely to happen the first time you meet. So it's a balancing act. If you feel no chemistry, then, you don't have to have sex.
Of course.
If you feel a fair bit of chemistry or a little bit of chemistry, then work on developing that. It's like a seed that you need to grow into a flower. It's not this like ephemeral magic thing where it's just like, we either have compatibility or we don't. Yes, there's a baseline compatibility level that you will or won't have. That's why we screen girls out if there's no chemistry and there's no compatibility.
Yeah, absolutely.
But as long as there's a fair bit there, you can work with that and grow it. Anything else you would like to add? That's like all the questions he asked.
No, I think that pretty much covers it. As long as you're screening and asking questions and doing all of that, you can probably get a very good sense of what someone will be like in bed before you actually have sex with them.
Yeah, and I really want to make it clear that you don't have to be into BDSM or any of that shit. Even if you're just having normal vanilla sex where you just stick your dick in her pussy and that's about it, you can still be encouraging compatibility. Encouraging her to do more of the stuff you like. Like if you like her moaning, just say like, moan for me. It turns me on like crazy. If you like certain positions, just do those more and encourage her to do those more. If you like girls to do something like you like when they give you a blowjob, then just say like, suck my dick, give me a blowjob. Like encouraging the things you want, encouraging the type of sex you like to have, encouraging the positions you like to be in, doing the stuff that you like doing. Just encourage that. And that will, like, please don't sit there. I really want to make it clear. Please don't sit there thinking, oh, I wish we were more compatible. It's like, you're the man. It's up to you to make that happen. Again, this only applies if there's a baseline level. If there's no chemistry, then, fine. There's no chemistry. Move on, screen her out, go to someone else. Life's too short to waste it on someone who has no chemistry with you. But as long as there's a little bit, encourage it. And we'll definitely do a podcast about love at some point, because love, you and I talked about this morning. We had like a 3-hour conversation about this, so the timing is great, but
the magic of love is bullshit.
Yeah, this notion that like you're just magically in love and you can't do anything. Because one of the guys in my Facebook group, the Winners Club, the private mentorship group I have, he asked about love and a bunch of questions. So we'll do a podcast on that, about how you can make yourself fall in love, so to speak, how you can generate love, how you can engineer a situation in which you keep loving each other more and more over time, how you can build love, how you can make yourself feel deeper in love, like all that kind of stuff. It's not just this magical thing where like we have no control over love. It's like, yes, you do, you fucking loser. Like you have so much control over it. Yeah. Stop thinking that you got none. So we'll do a podcast on that. If there's nothing else you want to say, give me a shout out. You got to shout someone out at the end of every episode.
Shout someone out?
Shout something or someone out.
Shout out to the guy that was trying his best with his little upper body workout on that bench over there.
Shout outs to that guy. Shout outs to Crack as well. That's my shout out. Peace, guys.